Hello and welcome to another Football Manager tactic video, and in this video we're going to be looking at the complete guide to Andoni Iraola's tactic with AFC Bournemouth. Now Bournemouth has lit up the Premier League this season with exciting high pressing football. So in this tactic breakdown we're going to look at all the player roles that you would need to actually recreate this system of Football Manager. We'll also look at the team instructions and why they're actually set out that way, and at the end of this video I'm also going to share with you a version of Iraola's tactic that I found online that seems to be a bit more compatible to Football Manager's match engine. Now full disclosure, this is not an overpowered tactic, the one I'm going to show you, but much later I will show you the version that I consider to be the overpowered version of Iraola's tactic. We'll get to that, but this system we're looking at here is what I call the recreation of Andoni Iraola's system. Now in order to understand the system we have to actually understand how Iraola likes his Bournemouth team to play. So the team prefers to play direct football, so you won't see a lot of possession in this particular system. The attacking mentality here is more situational than it is set in stone. What normally would be here is going to be the balance mentality, and the mentality here is set to attacking because Bournemouth tend to play an expansive, expressive, high intensity style of play. More often than not, I did use the balance mentality to play in most games because I felt that it allowed us to start the game better. But I noticed that attacking also works really well in this system. You notice that when we're playing in possession, we don't really have that many team instructions set, and I'm going to tell you why. What Bournemouth like to do is to play direct football. So at the start, I did have the slightly more direct passing and higher tempo setup, but then I realized we were losing a lot of possession where we didn't really need to lose possession. So that is where the compromise from in-game experience and trying to recreate the system actually comes in. I noticed that having the attacking mentality and the passing directness set to standard kind of just allows you to have that direct football style because you're playing attacking mentality. Your team is not going to be too passive with the ball. Those were the only two instructions I set for this one. In transition instruction, the team tends to operate with that counter pressing system. When Bournemouth go ahead to lose possession of the ball, they like to have numbers up front, pressing for the ball quickly, trying to recover it as quickly as possible. And the counter here isn't just because counter press and counter work well together. It's also down to the fact that Bournemouth like to play direct football, counter attacking football, so having it on is just logically correct. And when the team goes on to win that possession back, they like to hit teams on the counter attack just before the team goes on to settle in their defensive shape. Out of possession, I asked the team to force the opposition out wide, but this is not a set in stone instruction. It's actually match based or situational based, so you can uncheck this option if you want. I like to have it in there because most of the goals we're conceding were from the central area, so I noticed that pushing the opposition outside could actually help us defend the central areas a bit better. You notice that I have the trigger press set to more often. That's because we wanted to kind of contain our shape a bit. Bournemouth are not the team that overpress the opposition. They will like to hassle the opposition and get possession of the ball, but they don't do it like crazy. There's almost like a methodical approach to the way that they press. They do go on to force the goalkeeper to go long because they like to win the ball high in the air. So the idea behind prevent short goalkeeper distribution is to force the opposition into long passes. So it's not just limited to the goalkeeper in case the opposition is trying to play out from the back. So you're going to force your players to try and stand in strategic positions to not allow them play out from the back very easily, forcing them to go long, and then Bournemouth can now regain possession that way. We'll look at how each of the player roles are set up and how they actually tie into this team mentality and team instructions. The goalkeeper here is set to a super keeper on support duty. You have keeper Arita Balaga in here. He doesn't have any instructions set for him. I've set the default for the super keeper on support, and the reason why I'm using a super keeper on support is because of the counter-attacking mentality of the team. The team is not supposed to just hold possession back and be a bit safe in possession, so the goalkeeper is encouraged to actually start long kicks and take the ball out. You notice that here when I go back to the in transition instruction, the goalkeeper has the instruction to take long kicks. Now the fullbacks behave very differently for Bournemouth. We're going to look at Kirikes here, one of the exciting players that I have in this team. He is playing as a wing back on attack duty. I have different versions of the system that had a fullback on attack or a fullback on support playing in this particular role. But the reason why I have the wing back here on attack duty is because in Bournemouth's style of play, the fullbacks are the ones that actually offer the width. But that's confusing because the right hand side, we have a fullback on support duty. And this fullback on support had the instruction that says, hold this position and sit narrower. This hold position and sit narrower is an instruction that is similar to what the inverted fullback does in the team. So what the inverted fullback does is actually fall with back three when the wing back gets ahead and is more attacking. But if you have an inverted fullback, this player cannot get up the field and try and cross on the byline. And I only saw that happen once when I was managing at Monaco, but that's very different from this tactic. So in order for me to find the balance between having an inverted fullback and a fullback that actually gets high and crosses the ball from wide areas and offers some width, I had to go for a fullback on support duty who can run wide with the ball, hold his position, and also sit narrow. So it's acting like an inverted fullback and also a fullback that can actually venture far forward. Now in the center half position, I opted for two ball playing defenders on defend duty. The reason why I'm going for two ball playing defenders is because they're very suited to a counter attacking style of play. Now, you can't really go ahead and ask the ball playing defender to be a bit more direct with his passing. It's just standard directness for him. And take more risks was the only other instruction that asked the ball playing defender to kind of start counter attacks from deeper areas. In defensive midfield, this is where it kind of gets tricky. I have two versions of the tactic, like I told you. In fact, three versions of the tactic, but the third one, we're not going to really look deep into that. The second version of the tactic actually has two central midfielders, and then the main version has two defensive midfielders. The idea about this system is actually more important than just throwing the player roles in there. One of the defensive midfielders is going to actually protect the back four. So this player is going to act like a defensive midfielder on defend DT and also a deep line playmaker on defend. The idea is just to hold this position and be a screen and protect the back four, while the other central midfielder or defensive midfielder in this sense is a ball winning midfielder on support. This player has the instruction to be the one that is going to press while the other defensive midfielder is holding his position. Usually Tyler Adams does this very well. That's why I set him as a ball winning midfielder. In the other system that I have, which is a central midfielder, you're going to see that I have a Carrilero. I have a Carrilero in this particular role, and he is closing down more because I want him to also act like a ball winning midfielder and try to hustle the position and win the possession back. He's also going to take care of the flanks. That's why I have a Carrilero in there. The front four kind of deviate from what is normal on Football Manager. What I have here for Justin Kluivert, who is playing on the left wing, is actually to play as an inverted winger on support. Often I change it to inverted winger on attack when I have another player that is playing here, not Kirikes. The reason why he's on support duty here is because Kirikes is going to be the one attacking that space. In the number 10 position, I opted for an advanced playmaker on support duty because it was a logical decision based on the players that we have in that particular role. This player's role is to create chances for all the other players that are in attack, all the other front three. Sinistera on the right hand side, he's acting as a winger on support DT. Now in this system, I have played with two wingers on left and on the right hand side. So like I said, it's really down to the fact that the wingers are going to be the ones also attacking the space. I have used two wingers in this system, even though I'm using one winger and one inverted winger right now. The wingers are really responsible for pressing your position. Now I'm going to look at we're going to switch to the player instructions now. Inside the individual player instruction, if you're coming up against a back three system, you want to ask one of your wingers to actually press the opposition's third centre back. So if you have a left winger that is playing on the left hand side, you want your left winger to press the opposition's right centre back. And then the same thing you're going to do for the right winger. You're going to ask the right winger to go ahead and press the opposition's left sided centre half. So this is what happens in the back three. Usually you only need to do this for a back three system. In a normal system, you kind of just allow the players press the way they can do strategically. When you have your two center halves, when you have the opposition's two center halves in the back three pressed by your two wingers, you're going to ask your fullbacks then to go ahead and be the ones to press the opposition's wing back. So yeah, my right winger is going to be the one to press the opposition's left wing back, and then the same thing you're going to do for the right hand side. Ask the right fullback to go ahead and press the left wing back. With those internal player instructions set, we don't really touch the opposition instructions as much in this particular test. It kind of worked out well for me, not having the opposition instructions set up. What the striker is going to do is act like a pressing forward on the attack. It is going to lead the line of the press. If you notice, we still have a high press set up, so the team is going to try to hustle the opposition, and he's going to be the one to lead the line, lead the press, and then force mistakes, force the opposition into dangerous areas where they are forced to play long balls away from their own post. We did look at the second system a little bit before, but the only other instruction I wanted to let you guys see is that in this place, when we have a Carrilero on support DT, beside him is not a defensive midfielder anymore. It's a deep line playmaker on defend DT. That way you can actually drop deeper and then get into the space right ahead of the back four and try to protect them the way he would have done in case he was playing in the defensive midfield position. Like I mentioned, often the mentality is going to be balanced, but I do like the attacking mentality because it allows the team to express themselves and go at the opposition and try to create chances and score goals for themselves. But if you're coming up against a very difficult team, you could go ahead and play balance, or even if you have a red card or so, go ahead and play defensive. There's no harm in that. Now, I did promise you guys a version of Andoni Iraola's tactic that I consider to be overpowered, and you can find that on FM Blog website. FM Blog did go on to create that version of the tactic, and you can go ahead and check it out here. I did go on to test both systems to see which was actually better, and you'll be shocked the results that we actually had. I'm going to share with you the results and what I thought about the tactic testing between what FM Blog did and what we went on to do in our own particular save where we're playing every single game. You can head over to FM Blog, Football Manager blog, and give the tactic a download and try it out for yourself. It's well detailed. There's a full description here that you might need in case you want to read that. You can go ahead and read it and even use it as an inspiration to create your own version of Andoni Iraola's tactic. So let's look at the results of the season that we had. Well, first is going to be the tactic that we went on to create, which is the system that I broke down with you right now, the DHFM Andoni Iraola 1-2-3. So what I did, if you look at the Premier League, we're currently sitting in 9th place. We've lost 3 times already, and the 3 teams that we lost to were Arsenal, Man City, and Everton. Everton game was a bit closer, but the Arsenal and Man City one was, their top team. So I can't really fault my team for losing there. If you look at the data hub, you see that we're formidable defensively, but we're very weak in attack, which is kind of why I switched to an attacking mentality. If you look at the team's attacking stats, then we have 1.5 goals per game and 0.86 non-penalty goals per game. Shots per game is like 7.50. It's not the highest, I know. It's probably why we're ninth on the table right now. And if you look at the way the team is set up, if you look at the defensive stat, we're expected to concede 1.77 goals per game, but we've conceded 1.33. So it's less than the XG that we're supposed to concede. But I feel going for an attacking mentality is actually going to help us get a bit more goals, but I know that it can actually allow us concede a bit more, which is why I was skeptical about going attacking at first. Now, I did go on to test the system from FM Blog, so we're going to go ahead and look at the results that they had and try to compare with ours. I think we have 1 point. In the tactic from FM Blog, Bournemouth actually finished in the Europa League places, coming in 7th on the league. They lost 10 times, won 19 times, but in that time they actually beat Arsenal and Manchester United. So they did quite well with the system, even in our own test. And if you look at the data hub, it's not very far from what we're getting in our normal tactic. So if you go back to the If you go back to the team's overview then and you look at the team's attacking, they have 1.63 points per game and they're expected to concede 1.44. So slightly lower, I guess, for the expected goals. If you look at their team's defending and how they actually set up, they're expected to concede 1.31, but they are conceding 1.16 goals per game. So slightly above 1 goal per game. And this is the version of the Andoni Iraola tactic you can find on FM Blog. It has many different versions, but I'm going to show you the plug and play system. And if you go ahead and download it, you might find up to like 7 different versions of the tactic. There's a plug and play version, there's the default Andoni Iraola Bournemouth tactic, and there's also the tactic used against big teams. They're very similar in the way that they're set up, and if you look at the way the team is, they have a super keeper on defend duty this time. On the right hand side, they have fullbacks on support duty, a lot of instructions set up for them. Ball playing defender is going to say, okay, now instead of using a ball playing defender, he actually opted for a central defender and asked him to play direct passes. So I chose to use the ball playing defender, hoping that I was going to play those direct passes. It didn't really work out that way. He actually has a ball playing defender in here, so you can go ahead and download the system for yourself and see how it actually works out. Let me know what you think of Andoni Iraola's tactic in the comment section. For more football manager videos like this, do well to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.